ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। ॐ Dear friends, welcome to the study of the Yoga Sutras. We are now in this fourth pada, that is Kaivalya Pada. We read the 21st Sutra. In the last class, we read the 21st Sutra, that is Chittantara Drushye Buddhi Buddhehe Ati Prasangaha Smriti Sankarascha. So the discussion is between the Buddhist and the Yogi. Yogi means Sankhya also, Sankhya and Yoga on one side, and the Buddhists on the other side. Buddhists, they do not accept the presence of another entity called the Purusha. Whereas Sankhya and the Yoga, they accept the presence of a Purusha, what we call Atman in Vedanta. Purusha is the one who is the seer. Purusha is the actual seer. Purusha, that pure consciousness, is what is reflected in the Antakarana. And this Purusha is seeing through this Antakarana, the mind becomes a sort of instrument for the Purusha to know the external world. And Purusha, according to Sankhya and Yoga, it has Bhoktrutvam, though it doesn't have Kartrutvam, it has that Bhoktrutvam. So that is the thing which we saw. And in that context, under the commentary, I had a doubt about this Rupa Skandha. We were talking about the five skandhas. So while we were talking about the five skandhas, I had a doubt about this skandha because I had not referred to the Buddhist texts. So later I referred to this Sarva Darshana Sangraha. Now I want to share the screen. So I am showing the note which I showed in the last class also. This note I changed. If you see, I have changed this note. Because this Rupa, I had written it wrongly. I had a doubt about this Rupa Skandha. Rupa Skandha, because I noted from some other text, which is not actually a Buddhist text, but some other English text. So that Rupa, that is a gross form or something like that. So I took it for what we call the Annamaya Kosha. It is not correct. Again, later I again went to that Sarvadarshana Sangraha of Madhavacharya. You know that there is a book called Sarvadarshana Sangraha by Madhavacharya. And this Madhavacharya is said to be the same person who is also called Sayana. And we know that there is a bhashyam for the Veda. That Veda Bhashya is said to have been written by Sayana Acharya. It is called Sayana Bhashyam. It is also called Vidyaranya Bhashyam in the southern India. We don't know why. People say that this Madhavacharya, Sayanacharya, and what is called Vidyaranya, they are either one and the same or they are cousins or something like that. I am not very sure about that. I have not gone into that. But then Madhavacharya is the name for that. I mean, the name of the author of that book, Sarvadarshana Sangraha, where you find a discussion on all the various schools of philosophy. Because we know, if we see in the Indian schools, our people have discussed the basic idea about who I am and what is this world. So about the process of cognition, the process of knowing things, the process of what we call epistemology now. So these are the points which were discussed and debated. So on this only, basing on this only, they wanted to know what is the supreme reality. The inquiry was always on what is the supreme reality. Is there some supreme reality at all or not? And Buddhists say that only the mind that is supreme, and mind is all in all, and there is nothing else other than that. So let me explain this Buddhist school about Buddhist idea of this Panchaskandhas. So we were reading this Panchaskandha. What is that line? Kechittu sattvamatram parikalpya astita sa sattvaha yaha etan panchaskandhan nikshipya anyanscha pratisandadhati. So they do accept some five skandhas, and the person is supposed to transcend the five skandhas and take up and go to higher levels. So that is what they said. And what are these skandhas? I am just explaining it because the same thing comes in another sutra also, in sutra number 24 in the commentary. Though not directly mentioned, this alaya vijnana, the term alaya vijnana comes. So it is probably proper for us to know what are these five skandhas. I will read from the Sarva Darshana Sangraha. Sarva Darshana Sangraha. in that chapter number 2 regarding Buddhism. So he writes, Madhavacharya writes, Soyam chittaha, chitta chaitatmaka skandhaha, panchavidaha, chitta chaitya chaitatmaka skandhaha. So this whole structure, skandha, we can call it roughly, we can call it a structure. This whole structure is 5 types. What is that? Chitta chaitatmaka. So it is of the nature of chittam and chaitam. Chittam is pure consciousness and mind. Chaitam is something which is the interface with the external world. That is the chaitam. So what are they? Rupa, Vijnana, Vedana, Sanya, Samskara, Sanyakaha. Rupa, Vijnana, Vedana, Rupa Skandha, Vijnana Skandha, Vedana Skandha, Sanya Skandha, and Samskara Skandha. What are they? Tatra Rupyante Yebihi Vishayaha iti. Rupyante iti cha vyutpatya savishayani indriyani rupaskandhaha. So that is the indriyas, the sense organs which are able to cognize things. They are the interface between the chittam and the external world. So this rupaskandha, this is the senses which cognize things, that forms the rupaskandha. Rupyante yebihi vishayaha. Vishayaha yebihi indriyehi rupyante. So that is indriya, not indriyaha, indriyani. So rupyante yebihi indriyani, because indriyam is napumsakalinga shabda. Then rupyante iti cha vyutpatya savishayani indriyani rupaskandhaha. Okay. Alaya vijnana pravrutti vijnana pravahaha vijnana skandhaha. So this vijnana skandha has 2 parts in it. One is what is called alaya vijnana and pravrutti vijnana. This alaya vijnana is a very important concept, seems to be an important concept in Buddhism. The problem of our text is, if we are teaching Vedanta, we are supposed to know a little bit of Veda, Sankhya, a little bit of Buddhism, a little bit of Nyaya, a little bit of grammar and all those things. Similarly, it applies to all other subjects. So now that we are studying the Yoga Sutras, we are also supposed to know what is Sankhya. Invariably, we are supposed to know, because they are 2 sister, the twin philosophies. And we are also supposed to know a little bit of Vedanta, some little bit of other subjects also. So similarly, particularly Buddhism, in this particular chapter, particularly Buddhism, we are supposed to know. So what is this alaya vijnana? Alayam, we know what is called alayam. Devalayam, we say. Alayam. Liyate asmin iti. Samantat liyate asmin iti alayaha. That is, when you go to a temple, you are so totally absorbed in that. Liyate, li dhatu, that is getting absorbed. You get absorbed. Pibata bhagavata rasam alayam. That is what Bhagavata says. Pibata bhagavata rasam alayam. Muhuhu. Some line is there. What is that? You drink this nectar called Bhagavatam, alayam, till you get absorbed, till you get totally absorbed, means the individual identity gets lost in the supreme identity. So that is alayam. So here alaya refers to the vijnana which is associated with the self. I see an object, and I come to know anuvyavasaya jnanam, what the logicians call. I know the object. So that is anuvyavasaya, what the logicians say. But here alaya vijnana is that all that knowledge which is associated with, not, again, this knowledge is not something which is stationary. Something is all momentary knowledge, all momentary impressions, let us say, a stream of momentary cognitions. So that is what is alaya vijnana. And then again, pravrutti vijnana. There is what is called pravrutti vijnana also. And this pravrutti vijnana, again, it is something which is changing into Vishayakara, that pravrutti vijnana. That is a different thing. That is changing into Vishayas, means again the sense organs trying to know the pravrutti vijnana. Is there any definition given here? So he has not given a definition here. Alaya vijnana, pravrutti vijnana, pravaha. Pravrutti is our external conduct and behavior. So let us stop with that for no further inquiry. Alaya vijnana, pravrutti vijnana, pravaha, vijnana skandhaha. Pragukta skandhadvaya sambandha janyaha, sukha dukkhadi pratyaya pravaha, vedana skandhaha. So this vedana skandha, vedana means with to know. That is with to feel here, with to feel. What is this vedana skandha? Vedana skandha is that flow of feelings, happiness, sorrow, etc. What is that? Pragukta skandhadvaya sambandha janyaha. So he told this rupa skandha and vijnana skandha. So the the Sukha Dukkha Pravaha, the stream of Sukha and Dukkha arising from these earlier two skandhas. The stream of Sukha, that is happiness and sorrow, the stream of happiness and sorrow arising from these earlier two skandhas, that is what is called Vedana Skandha. Then again, Sanya Skandha is the perception, stream of cognitions of external objects, that is the Sanya Skandha. Then Samskar, that is, how does he say? Gauhu ityadi shabdollikhita samvit pravaha. Samvit means jnana. Samvit pravaha means the jnana pravaha. Jnana pravaha means the stream of jnana, the stream of consciousness. Samvit pravaha, sanya skandha. Then Vedana skanda nibandhanaha ragadveshadayah kleshaha. Vedana skanda nibandhanaha means there is this Vedana skandha which is consisting of the flow of feelings like sorrow, happiness and all that. All these things, they do form a sort of impression, certain latent impressions. So this raga dveshadaya and this raga dvesha etc., they are also caused by that Vedana skandha nibandhana. Nibandhana means dependent on the Vedana skandha, or depending on our impressions, depending on our interactions, some impressions are caused. And those are of the nature of raga dveshadaya klesha. Then upaklesha, mada manadaya, there are pancha klesha. He is also telling about some upaklesha, some subsidiary klesha, like mada manadaya. Mada means pride, mana, that is excessive self-esteem. Then dharma ucha, samskara skandha, dharma, adharma, all these things are samskara skandha. So these are the five these skandhas which we have to see. So I have quoted from this Sarvadarshana Sangraha of Madhavacharya. So this Alaya Vijnana is a term which we are going to get in this Sutra number 24 also. So that is the reason why I mentioned it here. Alaya Vijnana. Alaya means something which is associated with that self. Alaya, that all experience finally is associated with the self only. So that Alaya is something which is associated with the self. So that definition also is somewhere here. Alaya Vijnana. Yeah, Alaya Vijnana. Yeah, Alaya Vijnanam Nama. Ahamaspadam Vijnanam. Ahamaspadam, something which is centered around that I. I know this, I know that I, that associated with that I. And there is also a shloka. Tatsyad Alaya Vijnanam Yad Bhaved Ahamaspadam. That line. Tatsyad Pravrutti Vijnanam Yan Niladika Mullikhet. Oh, he has also told about Pravrutti Vijnana. That Pravrutti Vijnana is something which is the Alaya Vijnana directs a person to behave in a particular way. So that is called the Pravrutti Vijnana. So that Pravrutti Vijnana is something based on that Alaya Vijnana. So that is how he has defined. Tatsyat Pravrutti Vijnanam Yan Niladika Mullikhe. Okay. So this is what is about the Panchaskandhas. Now we will come to the next sutra. There was another doubt also asked by someone about the Kartrukarma Virodha. Kartrukarma Virodha, there is nothing further to be told, because nothing. Kartrukarma Virodha is basically, it is from when I asked one grammarian, and the grammarian told lot many sentences from the Vyakarana Shastra, which are not very relevant here. So that is basically, I can't be the karta and also karma in the same action. So karta means I do some action, and the action, the prayojana flows into somebody else, something else. So that is what is karma. So there is nothing further about it. So we come to the next sutra. That is, how does the Purusha know the mind? The idea, the yogi is saying, there is an entity called Purusha, which the Buddhist is disputing. So he says, Chitehe apratisankramayaha tadakara pattau swabuddhi samvedanam. So the question is, how does the Purusha know the mind? The earlier sutra said there is an entity called Purusha which knows the mind. And mind is, after all, an insentient thing. It is objectified by consciousness. So that is what he said. Then Chitehe apratisankramayaha. Apratisankramayaha Chitehe. Apratisankrama is the adjective for chit. Chiti. Chiti means consciousness. Chitehe apratisankramayaha tadakara pattau. And this though in one go or in one breath, the sutra is saying that chit is something which is aparinami, it doesn't undergo any change. And it is also saying that it is also assuming the shape of, assuming the form of buddhi. It is saying like that. How is that explained? We'll see that. Chitehe apratisankramaya, pratisankramanam. Kramanam means movement. Sankramanam, you know the word sankranti, getting transferred from one thing to another, is sankranti. Pratisankramanam. Apratisankramaya, which is of change, which is unchanging in nature. Tadakara pattav, where it assumes the form of that vritti. Tat is referring to that vritti here. Swabuddhi samvedanam, knowledge of one's own mind. That is, where the chitta is able to know the mind. As the Purusha, which is unchanging in nature, assumes the form of the mind's vritti, then it has the knowledge of the mind. That is, it knows the mind. Swa buddhi samvedanam. Vedanam means knowledge. Swa buddhi, swa self, buddhi, that is mind, samvedanam, knowledge. Then that is the reason why I have given a note. The key expression here is tadakara apatti. Tad akara apatti. That is assuming some other shape, assuming its shape, assuming its form. So in one breath, it is said that the Purusha is unchanging in nature and that it is assuming the form of the vritti of the mind. So this has been variously explained by the commentators. How is it? According to Vachaspati Mishra, that is Yogavartika, Tattva Vaisharati, that is, he says the reflection of Purusha. He is using that Pratibimba Vada, which is also accepted in Vedanta. The reflection of Purusha consciousness in the Buddhi and in its vritti is what is meant by Tadakara Patti. Tadakara Patti means that it is not as though the consciousness is getting transformed into Buddhi. Consciousness is getting reflected in that Buddhi. And both Sankhya and also Vedanta, they do accept that Buddhi or the mind is a sort of special type of dravya. Virala Taijasa Dravyam Manaha, it says Virala Atyaksha Virala Taijasa Dravyam. That is something which is capable of receiving the reflection of that consciousness. All other things which we call insentient also, to some very low degree, they do also reflect consciousness. But the mind is that, it is somewhat like the filament which carries electrical electricity. All other things also do carry some electricity. But then the filament is something which carries the electricity. So somewhat like that. We don't know whether they are absolutely non-carriers. I'm not sure. So Tadakara Patti, it is explained in this fashion. That is, it is a reflection of consciousness. So it is accepted that the mind takes the form of object and thus the Purusha knows by its own buddhi and its content. Then Vijnana Bhikshu, Yogavartika, he says that buddhi, he is using the Japa Kusuma. Japa Kusuma is that red flower which is kept in front of, next to a sort of crystal. The buddhi which is activated by the reflection of consciousness, this is also accepted here. Buddhi is, if the consciousness is not reflecting in it, the buddhi is again, it is useless. It is dead, in other words. So this buddhi, when it is active, it assumes the form of the object and then gets reflected in the unchanging Purusha. The buddhi itself assumes the form of the object and gets reflected in the unchanging Purusha. How is that? The example is that of a colored flower. Japa Kusuma, they say. Japa Kusuma is some sort of red flower, kept next to the pure crystal. The crystal looks as though it has assumed the form and color of the flower. This is what is meant by Tadakara Apatti. Tad Akara Apatti. Apatti means attaining. Akara is a form. Tat of that. Tad Akara Apatti. Assuming that form. So this, it should be thus. Thus, sorry, where is it gone? That's it somewhere. Thus, the Purusha becomes a knower and experiencer of the object. So he is a knower and experiencer of the object. Then now commentary. Aparinaminihi bhoktru shaktihi apratisankramacha parinamini arthe pratisankranta iva taduruttim anupatati. Pratisankranta iva taduruttim anupatati. So the language here is slightly technical. Aparinaminihi bhoktru shaktihi. Bhoktru shakti is nothing but the same pure consciousness or Purusha, which is also having that Bhoktrutva. So the unchanging and non-transmuting enjoyer, Aparinamini Bhoktra Shakti, Aprati Sankrama, a non-transmuting enjoyer, the Purusha, looks as though it has transmuted into the buddhi and it's in its vritti. Aprati Sankramacha, Parinamini Arthe. Artha is objective. Sorry, object. Here the object is the mind. Parinamini Arthe. Arthe means manasi, in the chitte, we can say, in the chittam or in the mind. Parinamini Arthe. So it is the buddhi transmuted into buddhi. It looks as though it has transmuted into buddhi. Parinamini Arthe pratisankranta iva tad vruttim anupatati. Parinamini Arthe. The artha, the object here is the mind. So I have forgotten one word, to translate one word, Parinamini Arthe, transmuted into Buddhi, which is Parinami in nature. Buddhi, which is Parinami in nature, and into its Vritti. So the consciousness, it is looking as though it is getting transformed into the Buddhi and also the Buddhi Vritti. Buddhi is the Antahkarana. Buddhi Vritti is that Vritti which reaches out to the external object. Vedanta also talks about three types of Chaitanya. That is Antahkarana Avachinna Chaitanya, Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya, and Vritti Avachinna Chaitanya. When all the three mix, then that is called knowledge. The Antahkarana Avachinna Chaitanya goes out and then it reaches out to the object. And that Vritti Avachinna Chaitanya meets that Vishaya Avachinna Chaitanya. So that is how we have that knowledge. So here also it is somewhat similar. So Aparinamini Bhokta Shakti. Okay. अस्याश्च प्राप्त चैतन्योपग्रह स्वरूपायाः बुद्धिवृत्तेः अनुकारी मात्रतया बुद्धिवृत्ति अविशिष्टा हि ज्ञानवृत्तिः आख्यायते. So there is so much of semblance. There is so much of semblance that tasyascha, that buddhivritti, because the consciousness is reflecting in that buddhivritti also. Consciousness is reflecting in the mind. Consciousness also is reflecting in the buddhivritti. So because of that, the buddhi, it is looking as though it is not distinct from buddhi. And buddhi is looking as though that itself is chetanam. Buddhi, though it is achetanam or jada, buddhi is looking as though it is chetanam because of the reflection of this consciousness. So tasyascha prapta chaitanya upagraha swarupayaha buddhi vrittehe. Buddhi vritti, the translation has to be go in the topsy-turvy way. I will read out the translation first. Because of merely appearing as the vritti of the mind, it is anukari matrataya, buddhi vrittehe anukari matrataya, for that. Merely appearing as the vritti of the mind, which has got the reflection of Purusha in it, that mind which has got a prapta chaitanya upagraha swarupa. Prapta chaitanya upagraha. Chaitanyasya upagraha. Upagraha means contact. Swarupayah buddhi vritti. That buddhi vritti which has been influenced by consciousness, or that reflection of consciousness, the mind has got the reflection of Purusha in it. Then the vritti relating to knowledge, that I know the object, that is said to appear as though undistinguished from that. The vritti relating to knowledge, that is vritti, buddhi vritti, avishishta. Avishishta means something which is not different. Buddhi vritti avishishta hi jnana vritti akhyayate. What is called I, that jnana vritti, jnanakara vritti, is looking something which is not totally indistinguishable from the buddhi. So the buddhi which is not the chetana as such, the basic point is buddhi which is not chetana or sentient by itself. It is appearing as though it is sentient. That is the overall meaning. Prapta chaitanyopagraha. Chaitanyasya upagraha. Upagraha means say attachment, or upagraha actually means getting tinged by. So that is upagraha. Last class also we got that word. Upagraha is something Rahu Grasta, Chandra. It is called upagraha. That is eclipsed by, or tinged by here. It is not eclipsed by, it is influenced by. Chaitanyopagraha swarupayaha buddhivrittehe. This buddhivritti which is getting that tinge of Chaitanya, and this anukari matrataya, it is imitating that. So that is why, that is how this jnana vritti is looking as though it is indistinguishable from this buddhi vritti. The rather slightly complicated sentence. I have to work on the translation again to make it simpler. Then The vritti of the mind is appearing as the vritti of awareness of Purusha, as I know the object. So the word Chaitanya Upagraham is reflection of consciousness, nothing more than that. Tatha Choktam, this shloka is simple. This shloka is very simple. Na patalam na cha vivaram girinam naivandhakaram kukshayo nodadhinam guhayasyam nihitam brahma shashvatam buddhivrittim avishishtam kavayo vedayante. So this is a shloka which basically talks about that guhayam parame vyoman we see in Taittiriya Upanishad. So shnute sarvan kaman saha. What is that line? Asatyam jnanamanantam brahma yo vedanihitam guhayam parame vyoman. So that line only is mentioned here. Buddhi guha is there. What is that guha? Guha is something which is the innermost sheath, what we say. That innermost sheath is that what is called a buddhi guha. In that there only you have to look for the Brahman. All other 5 sheaths, if you just the remaining 4 sheaths, if you remove, what remains is that buddhi guha. Then na patalam na vivaram girinam. Na patalam. It is not this Brahma, or the Brahma is said to be there in that buddhi guha. So this Brahma is not in Patala. Patala is something in another world. Nacha vivaram girinam. Girinam. Vivaram is some gaps or some sort of caves, let us say caves in the mountains. Naiva andhakaram, not somewhere in darkness. Kukshayo na udadhinam. Udadhinam kukshayaha means the deep belly of the ocean, as we say. Kukshi actually means the belly. The depths of the ocean, we can say. But he has used the word kukshi. Kukshi means the belly. Kukshayaha na udadhinam. Udadhi is ocean. It is not the bellies of the ocean. Guhayasyam nihitam brahma shashvatam. That guha in which Brahma, that eternal Brahma is lodged, exists or is present. That is not different from this buddhi vritti. Buddhi vrittim avishishtam kavayo vedayante. Kavayaha, the learned people, they know, they say that this Brahma is to be seen in the buddhi vritti only. It is not to be seen elsewhere. Buddhi vritti means every buddhi vritti, in every cognition there is that consciousness. So without that consciousness there is no cognition. And this is what Kena Upanishad also says. Pratibodha viditam matam amrutatvam hivindate. That line from Kena Upanishad, it says that buddhi vritti, which is in which the consciousness is reflected, every buddhi vritti, every pratibodha means every cognition is showing the presence of that supreme reality, or that consciousness, which is the only supreme reality, it says. And when the cognition is not there, then also Chaitanya is there. There, for example, there is a flow of cognitions. Suppose there is one gap, some brief moment when there is no gap at all, then you are blissful. Suppose you are watching some waves of the ocean, or you are watching the moon, or you are watching something very beautiful, extremely beautiful, and the mind is absolutely still. And there is no moment of vrittis. When there is no moment of vrittis, we are absolutely blissful. That itself is that there again, consciousness is not absent. Consciousness is very much present in the form of bliss. So that also is, there is another shloka in Panchadashi, which I don't immediately recall. So that says, so this shloka, it basically talks about that guhayam parame vyoma, parama guha, that guha in which that supreme thing. Guha means figuratively your own self, your own what is called the mind's cave, the mind's cave. Again, this Hrudaya does not mean the heart, not the blood pumping heart. It is referring to our antakarana only. Buddhi vrittim avishishtam kavayo vedayante. The cave in which the eternal Brahman resides is no other than the vrittis of the mind. It is the same as the line from the Kena Upanishad, which says that the Brahman is known in every cognition of the mind. Then, atasya etad abhyupagamyate. Hence, it is accepted that, hence, as the mind is an object with respect to Purusha, it is accepted that drashtu drishyoparaktam chittam sarvartham. Then chittam, you see the mind is playing a double role. That is, mind is interacting with the consciousness, or rather consciousness is getting reflected in that, and the mind is also interacting with the object. The So that way, the mind is getting tinged by both the drashta and by the drishyam. Mind is a tool. Mind is a tool which is getting tinged by or connect. It is also connected to the drashta, also connected to the drishyam. Drashtru drusya uparaktam chittam sarvartham. Chittam, the mind. Drashtru drusya uparaktam. Tinged by the knower, drashta. Then drishyam. Drishyam is the object, the purusha and also the known, the object. Sarvartham means it is capable of knowing everything. It has everything in it. So it knows everything. It knows all. That is the meaning. Drashtru drusyoparaktam chittam. So the mind tinged by the purusha and also by the object has everything in it, the knower of all. So it was seen in the above sutra that the mind is activated by the reflection of consciousness and thus acts as the knower. Its vritti is also tinged with consciousness. The mind is also the subject for Purusha. The mind again is the subject for Purusha. Hence it is connected to both the Purusha and to the object. Then Manohi mantavyena arthena uparaktam. Manaha hi mantavyena arthena uparaktam. The mind is something the same as the sutra. It is tinged by the object to be known. Tat swayancha vishayatvat. Tat means referring to mind. That mind, swayamcha vishayatvat, because that itself is a vishaya for the Purusha. Vishaya means it is objectified by the Purusha. Vishayina Purushena. Vishayi. Who is the Vishayi? Purusha is the Vishayi. Vishaya and Vishayi. Vishaya is the object. Vishayi is the knower. Vishayina Purushena. The Purusha, the knower. Atmiyaya Vrutya Abhisambadham. So by that Vritti, it is also connected to that Purusha by that Vritti. Because Brahmakara Vritti also is there, that Purushakara Vritti also is there. Because when at the time of realization, that Purushakara Vritti also is there. That Purusha, we saw that earlier also. Purushakara Vritti is there, and Vritti reaches, but then it is the Purusha is not cognized as an object. So that is what we saw. Vritti Vyapyatvam and Phala Vyapyatvam, those two words which are used in Vedanta, they were also accepted in an earlier sutra here, somewhere in this chapter only. So let us see the translation. The mind which is tinged, the mind is tinged by the object to be known. It is also being the object with respect to Purusha, that is tat swayamcha vishayatvat vishayina purushena. It is connected to the knower Purusha by its vritti, atmiyaya vrutya, abhisambadham. Abhisambadham is connected to the knower Purusha by its vritti. Then tadetat chittameva drashtru drusyoparaktam vishaya vishayi nirbhasam chetana achetana swarupapannam vishayatmakamapi avishayatmakamiva acetanam chetanamiva spatika manikalpam sarvartham ityusyate. He is explaining the word called sarvartham. Why is it called sarvartham? Sarvartham is having all objects, have all things, that is knowing all things, knowing all, that is sarvartham. Tadetat chittameva, this same mind, drashtru drusyoparaktam, which is tinged by the knower and also by the known. Vishaya Vishayi Nirbhasam. Bha means Prakasha. Vishaya Vishayi Nirbhasam means that which is shining both as an object and also as the knower. Then Chetana Achetana Swarupapannam. It has assumed the form of both Chetanam and Achetanam. It has got two forms. One is Chetanam and Achetanam. Then Vishayatmakamapi, Avishayatmakamiva. Though it is an object, it is appearing as Avishayam. It is appearing as something which is knower. Acetanam chetanamiva, something which is insentient is appearing as sentient. Spatikamani kalpam, it is like a spatikamani, like that crystal. Sarvartham ityuchate, sarvartham, it is capable of knowing all. This is a simple line. The same mind shines as the object and the knower. It attains the form of being sentient and insentient, and though an object by nature, it appears not as an object. Insentient, though insentient, appears as insentient, like a crystal. Then it is called the knower of all. And then example, you see, we may note that usually the Purusha is compared to the crystal. Japa Kusumanyaya, usually we use it in the context of Purusha. But here it is used to explain the double functioning of the mind. Because suppose a crystal is there, On one side you keep a red flower and another side you keep a green flower. So both are getting reflected here. One facet of the crystal looks red and another facet of the crystal looks green, something like that. So the mind is like a crystal between the two objects and hence tinged by both the objects. Then tadanena chitta sarupyena bhrantaha. Now we are coming to the Buddhists. So because of this chitta sarupyam, because Purusha has got chitta sarupyam. Purusha has got chitta sarupyam means Purusha is looking as though he is one with the mind. Or the chittam is looking as though it is itself is the knower. Tadanena chitta sarupyena bhrantaha kechit Tadeva Chetanamittyahu. Some people who are deluded, Kechit, some people, those we are referring to the Buddhists, some deluded by the similarity between consciousness and mind. The similarity, or instead of similarity, I can use some other word, Chitta Sarupyam. Sarupyam is a similarity also. Chetanamittyahu. They say that the mind itself is sentient. Then apare, some others, Chittamatrameva idam sarvam. Apart from the mind, there is nothing else. All this, Chittamatrameva idam sarvam. Idam sarvam means all this we see, that is all the world we see, is nothing but the mind. It is just a projection of the mind, they say. Nasti khalvayam, gavadir ghatadischa. What we see as gavadi, gav, etc., the cow, etc., ghatadi, all objects, etc., all living beings and also inanimate things, all these things, and also sakarano lokaha. There is a lokam, there is a whole world which has been brought about by the karmic baggage of all the beings. All this loka, how is this loka coming into existence? This loka is coming into existence because of that karma, the baggage of karma, which of all the beings, not only of one being. So sakarano lokaha iti. So there is no, others say, all the world we see is but the mind. There is no real existence of things such as cow or pot, or even the world brought about by a cause. So in Vedanta, this Karanam, we call it as Ajnana. Ajnana, that nascence, as we call it in that is what is the Karanam for the Ajnana is the Karanam for Loka. But here, that Ajnana is not mentioned. Gavad, it is called Pradhanam. And the Pradhanam, the cause of that Pradhanam is that the whole karmic baggage. Then Pradhanam evolving as the world. Pradhanam itself is not the thing. Pradhanam, of course, is the cause. But then the main cause is also that karma. Anukampaniyaha te means te Bauddhaha. Anukampaniyaha. Anukampa is the pity. So they deserve sympathy. How, why, kasmat, asti hi tesham bhranti bijam sarvarupakara nirbhasam chittamiti. Because this bhranti bijam, the seed for all this delusion, the cause, bijam, we can also take it as the cause. The cause for this delusion is this chittam, which is shining sarvarupakaram, which is shining as all objects, which shines and assumes the forms of all. So the mind is assuming the forms of all. When I am looking at an object, the mind is assuming that form. And any object you see, it is assuming that form. So because this is the seed for delusion of these people. Because here is the seed for delusion. The mind which shines, assuming the forms of all. So this can be explained by taking the example of the Samadhi, says Vyasa. So now he says, the Vyasa commentary says, so this sort of Bhranti can be dispelled by taking the example of Samadhi. It is not explained. This can be dispelled. We can say dispelled. This can be dispelled taking the example of Samadhi, says Vyasa. This Bhranti, this delusion can be dispelled by taking the example of Samadhi. What is that? Samadhi prajnayam prajneyortha pratibimbi bhutaha tasya alambani bhutatvad anyaha. So in that Samadhi, what is happening? Prajneyortha. In normal Samadhi, what happens? Say later, we are talking about a Samprajnata Samadhi here. In that Samprajnata Samadhi, what happens? The object which is being contemplated upon, so that is reflected in the mind. That is very clearly seen in the mind. And that is there, objectified in the mind. And that is different from the mind, as it is the support in the mind. What happens there? We are contemplating on a particular thing, where the mind itself is the knower, mind itself is the viewer, the contemplating instrument, and you are knowing a particular thing. So that particular thing becomes the alambanam. Alambanam is, that is the base. That is the base for the entire reflection, for the entire contemplation. Samadhi prajnayam prajneyah artha. Suppose I am doing contemplation on a particular thing. That particular thing becomes the alambanam. Alambanam, that becomes the me, that becomes the basic reason. Alambanam actually means support. Lakshmi Rusimham Amadehi Kara Avalambam, we say. Avalambam is support. So here the support is not a very correct word. We can say prop. We can say prop also. So during the samadhi, the object being contemplated upon is reflected in the mind, and this is different from the mind, as it is the support for the contemplating mind. I dwell on a particular thing. That particular thing is different from the mind. That is the meaning here. Alambani bhutatvad anyaha, because that is anya. Anya is something which is different. And in the samadhi, what happens? You are watching the mind itself. With the mind, you may be contemplating on something else. But when you are watching the mind itself becomes the object. And the knower is something different. So that is what he is going to say. In normal contemplation, what happens is, there is an object and the mind which is contemplating on it. And in the samprajna, in the samadhi, where you are observing the mind itself, the mind chitta vritti, you are trying to control the chitta vrittis and all that, then the mind itself becomes the object. Then who is the knower? That is the point. Sached artha chittamatram syat. Sached artha chittamatram syat. So if that support or alambanam entity were to be the mind itself, which is sentient according to the Buddhist. According to the Buddhist, that mind itself is sentient. Sachedartha chittamatram syat katham prajnayaiva prajnarupam avadharyata. So that chittam also is becoming an object. When the chittam is becoming an object, and you are saying that chittam is conscious, chittam is nothing apart from, nothing different from consciousness, how is it that one prajna, one consciousness knows another consciousness? That it cannot be so. One consciousness cannot, there is no question of one consciousness knowing another consciousness. Sachedartha chittamatram, that object, if that support or alambanam, here that artha is that alambanam, chittamatram syat, if it were to be the mind itself, chittamatram syat, which is sentient according to the Buddhist, katham prajnayaiva prajnarupam avadharyata, then how can that mind, which is a conscious entity, be known by another conscious entity? Conscious entity according to Buddhist. So according to Buddhist again, how can that mind, conscious entity, I should also clarify according to Buddhist. How can that conscious entity be known by another conscious entity? Hence, that entity by which the object reflected in the samadhi cognition is known. Yeah, this line I have to read. Tasmat pratibimbi bhuto arthaha prajnayam yena avadharyate sa purushaha. So this particular entity called mind is known by some other thing, and that some other thing is purusha, because this pratibimbi bhuto arthaha. So that that entity by which the object reflected in the samadhi cognition is known is the purusha. This translation maybe I have to improve. Tasmat pratibimbi bhutah artha. So this consciousness is reflected in the mind itself. Pratibimbi bhutah artha. Prajnayam yena avadharyate sa purushaha. So that consciousness in which it is known, that is what is purusha. That consciousness in which the mind itself is objectified. So that is what is purusha. Then evam grahitru grahana grahya swarupa chitta bhedat trayamapi etat jatitah pravibhajante te samyak darshinaha taihi adhigatah purushaha iti purushaha. So evam, here of course ye te, those who, those and they. So that ye is not mentioned here, but we have to do some adhyahara. Those who distinguish these three, evam grahitru grahana grahya. Grahitru means knower, grahana means the instrument, grahya means the object. Here grahita is the purusha. Grahanam is the instrument, buddhi. That buddhi is the instrument. Overall, what the yoga point, is that buddhi is only an instrument. The knower is that purusha. The known is that object, drishyam. So that is the point. So grahitru grahana grahya swarupa. That is the knower, which is purusha. The instrument of knowing, that is the mind. And grahana, grahya. Grahya means the external object. Swarupa chitta bheda, Swarupa chitta bhedat trayamapyetat. These three Jatitaha pravibhajante, Jatitaha by their class, by their category, by their nature, those who do this pravibhajana, pravibhaga. Pravibhaga means distinguishing. You are separately seeing, you are able to see. Pravibhajante, pravibhagam kurvanti. So te samyak darshanaha. Those are the people who are seeing, who have the right understanding. Samyak darshi. Samyak darshi means somebody who has the right understanding. Te samyak darshanaha. Taihi adhigatah purushaha. So they know the purusha, only know. Taireva. Oh, there is, yeah. Eva also is there. Okay. Taihi adhigatah purushaha. They know the purusha. So here the point is, the mind itself is an instrument. And the mind, through that instrument called mind, the purusha is knowing things. Then the mind is everything, says the Buddhist, the next sutra. But the yogi says that the mind, which is an object and insentient instrument, works for the enjoyment or liberation of the Purusha. Bhoga apavargartham. Bhogartham apavargartham cha. The following sutra explains this. Utascha tad asankheya vasanabhischitram parartham samhatyakaritvat. So this mind, that is that what is that is mind. Asankheya vasanabhihi chitramapi. So it is, there is so much of sketching on that, sketching or etching, we can say. There is so much of etching or drawing. What is all this drawing? There is on that, there is so much of etching of vasanas. Vasanas of so many earlier lives. Earlier lives again are uncountable, countless. Asankheya. Sankhya means count, number. Asankheya means you can't count the number. Asankheya vasanabhi, countless number, countless latent impressions which are there, etched on the mind or sketched on the mind. Then chitram api, chitram, you can say chitritam also, chitritam api, those sketched. Parartham is something which is for somebody else's purpose. The mind, it is for somebody else's purpose. So that is what it says. Why? Samhatyakaritvat. Mind is a sanghata. Samhatyakari means it is functioning as a sort of assembled thing. Mind is an assemblage of, mind means mind including the senses and all that. It is an assemblage of senses and all that. So that is how any assemblage is for another one. So here the point he is making is any sanghata. Any sanghata means any aggregate. There is a sutra in Sankhya Karika. In that one, Sankhya Karika, the 17th Karika says, you know the Sankhya Karikas by Ishvara Krishna. So that Ishvara Krishna Sankhya Karika, 17th Karika says, Sanghata pararthatvat. Sanghata is always parartham. Sanghata pararthatvat trigunadi viparyayad adhishtanat. He is telling about the existence of Purusha. In order to show the existence of Purusha, this is one of the arguments. Buddhists say that there is no such thing as Purusha, it is only the mind which is all in all. So, but then Vedanta and also Sankhya says, no, there is somebody called Purusha, something called consciousness which is apart from the mind, and the mind itself is Jada. So that is our theory. So for that, in order to explain that, Sanghata is always Parartham. This is one basic rule, or rather basic principle, which these people say, both Vedanta and also Sankhya. Sanghata Pararthatvat. Sanghata means any assemblage. You take a motor, you take a any sort of any gadget. Any gadget is an assemblage, and that assemblage has been made by an intelligent entity, and it is used by an intelligent entity. And here also he is going to give the example of a house, a house made of so many different things, so many different components. House, if it is very, very beautifully decorated, it is not for the sake of the house. It is for the sake of somebody who is enjoying it, for the sake of somebody who is the owner of the house. So that is what he is going to say. Tad asankhyeya vasanabhihi chitramapi. though it is sketched by so many latent impressions and whatnot. Parartham, for another's purpose. Samhatyakaritvat, as it acts as an aggregate, as an assembled entity. Samhatya, samha, samhata, samha. We know the word samhita. Samhita, Rigveda Samhita, Yajurveda Samhita. Samhita means a collection. Sanghata, Hanudhatu, all said and done, Hanudhatu, Hanu, Dhanati, Sanghata. Just that Dhata meaning is not theirs. That means because Upasarga, when the Upasarga joins, the meaning changes. Upasarga Dhatvartha changes. We know that. So Sanghatyakaritvat means because it acts as an aggregate, as an assembled entity. So the mind, though sketched with countless latent impressions, works for the purpose of another, that is the Purusha, as it acts as an aggregate. So how is he going to explain that? Tadeta Chittam, I could not break all these things, I didn't have time. Tadeta Chittam, Asankhyeyabihi Vasanabhihi Eva Chitri Krutamapi Parartham. So Tadeta Chittam, this particular mind, Asankhyeyabihi Vasanabhireva Chitri Krutamapi, though it is sketched by countless latent impressions, Chitri Krutamapi Parartham, it works for another. It is for the purpose of, for the enjoyment of Parasya Bhoga Apavargartham. For the other. Who is this other? He is going to talk later. Parartham. Parasya bhoga apavargartham. It is for the bhoga and apavarga of the other. Na swartham samhatyakaritvat gruhavat. He is also doing an anumana prayoga. Anumana prayoga, we know that logical syllogism. So he is a hetu, nigamana, all those things he is showing. Na swartham, not for its own self. Why? Samhatyakaritvat. Because it is a sort of assembly. It is functioning as an assembled unit. Any sort of assemblage is something which is working for something else. And consciousness is something which is asanghata. It is something which is niravayavi. We see that there is whatever is aggregate, what is has that which is having so many limbs. Avayavi, we say. Any avayavi, as we see, is limited. Whatever, suppose if you say God is a very huge personality somewhere in heaven. So however huge he may be, however big and huge he may be, again there are some parts. When you visualize parts, that itself makes it delimited. So then again, it is something which is jada. It is working for somebody, something else. So that is the reason why we call the supreme reality as infinity. It is niravayavi. In that niravayavi, there are no parts. And let us see this line. Samhatyakaritvat gruhavat. This gruha means a house. So like a house, samhatyakari, it functions like an assemblage, like a house. The mind, which is an assemblage of the three gunas, yeah, samhatyakarana chittena, na swarthena bhavitavyam. This chittam, which is samhatyakari, na swarthena bhavitavyam. Swartham na bhavati. Na kadapi swartham na bhavati. Means Chittam cannot be working for itself. Chittam is like a house. If I am keeping my house beautifully, it is for my own happiness, not for the happiness of the house. Na chitte na swarthena bhavitavyam, na sukha chittam sukhartham, na jnanam jnanartham, ubhayam apyetat parartham. Na sukha chittam sukhartham. If I keep my house beautiful, it is not for the house, for the sake of the house. Na jnanam jnanartham. If the mind is doing some exercise and then doing some meditation and trying to see, doing some viveka and whatnot, not for the sake of the mind, it is for the sake of the Purusha. That is what jnanartham, ubhayamapi etat parartham. So I have in the brackets, I have made my own comments. You can see, I will read the thing. Yeah, it functions like an assemblage, like a house. The mind, which is an assemblage of what? Of the three gunas and the senses, and is also insentient. And it cannot be for itself. The mind cannot be for itself. It is insentient. The mind, which is insentient, assuming the form of happiness, is not for the sake of happiness. It is if the house is well decorated, it is for the master. So similarly, the mind assuming the form of cognition, is not for the sake of any cognition. Or knowledge, let us say. Here he is using the word knowledge. Sukhachittam sukhartham na jnanam jnanartham. Jnanam, I have used a very neutral word called cognition. Not for the sake of cognition. If the mind has been exercised to develop viveka, it is for the Purusha and not for the mind. Both happiness and knowledge are for the purpose of another. Happiness, sukha and dukkha. In fact, kha means indriyam, kham means indriyam. Sukham means that which is good for the sense organ. Dukkham, that which is not good for the sense organ. So sukha and dukkha are related to the body. So these are the things. And of course, when you say mind also is an insentient thing. So somebody abuses me, somebody shouts at me, and I feel bad. So that again is something not to do with the Purusha, not to do with consciousness. It is something to do with this body-mind complex only, and nothing to do with consciousness. So if the mind has been exercised to develop Viveka, it is for the Purusha and not for itself. Both happiness and knowledge are for the purpose of another. Then, okay, the note also is that experience or liberation is not for the mind, but for the Purusha. An aggregate, here I have explained the word Sanghata. Sanghata means an aggregate, has parts in it, and anything which has parts is limited and insentient. It is fabricated. In the case of the mind, it has evolved. Mind, of course, we say that it has evolved. Mind, the cosmic mind, and then from that cosmic mind, Vedanta says, Yatha Vispulinga, like small some sparkles which come out, all these individual minds, individuated minds have come into existence. And of course, Vedanta also talks about this, evolution of the mind and the sense organs. Each sense organ comes from the sattva element of a particular, sattva component of a particular element. And the mind is, it has evolved from the collective sattva components of all the 5 elements. That is what we see there. So this evolution, in the case of the mind, it has evolved. It is fabricated or evolved, let us say, for the sake of another. Consciousness, that is Purusha, does not have parts in it. It is Niravayavi. That is Vedanta also. We say that Brahman is Niravayavi. It is partless, infinite. Then the next line, Yascha Bhogena Pavargena Cha Arthena Arthavan Purushaha Saeva Paraha Na Paraha Samanya Matram. You see, whoever, the person who is having that, enjoying the dinner, you see, the person who is enjoying the dinner, he is the person who is the boss, not the food items. All the food items, they are not the boss. The person who is enjoying is the boss. So, Yascha Bhogena Pavargena Cha Arthena Arthavan Purushaha. A person, the Arthavan means a person who is fulfilled. Arthavan, person who is fulfilled by achieving the purpose of experience or liberation. Bhogena, apavargena cha, arthena. So his 2 purposes. What are the 2 purposes? Bhoga or apavarga, experience or liberation. Then experience can be sukha or dukkha, whatever it is. Yascha, the person who, bhogena apavargena cha arthena, arthavan, purushaha, saeva paraha. Arthavan, I could have split this, I should have split it also. Arthavan, Purushaha Saeva Paraha, Na Paraha Samanya Matram. The point which he wants to say is that para, the word para, is not referring to somebody else. It is not referring to some other mind. It is not referring to what Buddhists call Alaya Vijnana. That Alaya Vijnana, maybe we'll discuss it in the next class. What he is going to say is that para, what we call the knower of the mind, is not another mind. It is not the Alaya Vijnana. It is that consciousness called Purusha. It is that Purusha which is that infinite consciousness. It is not another mind which is Samanya Matram, not some mind in general. So that is what he says. Yascha Bhogena Pavargena Charthena Arthavan Purusha. You see, it is Purusha which stands fulfilled by achieving the purpose of experience or liberation. And that alone is the other. Purusha. That alone is the other. That alone means that, yeah, this Purusha, I should have brought it here. That Purusha alone is the other. I will click it right now. That alone. That alone is the other, but not another mind of the same class. Natu Samanya. So I think we will stop it here, because there is, it again needs, yeah, there is again, I have written a long note. I will read it in the next class. Srinivas?
Thank you, sir. I'm just checking for the questions. 1 second.
Okay. So So we have to read a lot of Buddhism also if we want to know Yoga Sutras. So I had earlier, long ago, some time ago, I had read this Sarva Darshana Sangraha in a very superficial way. Today again, I took it out and then saw the Buddha Darshana, Bauddha Darshana. Okay, there are no questions.
There are no questions, sir.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, sir.
Harihi Om Tat Sat.